Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Random Trek. I am your captain, the brave and unquestioning Captain Christopher Ingle. Joined as always is my newly awakened, who has gone through the Vaharai first officer, Commander Brennan, the Mystical Mar. Brennan, how you feeling this week?
I'm just sad that when I went through puberty, I didn't get spikes that I could shoot out of my head.
It might have made all the bullying against us when we were kids a lot easier to
Oh
deal with,
boy,
wouldn't
yes.
it? Yes, today we are taking a look at Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 6, The Sound of Thunder. Brennan, you and I have had no qualms saying that Saru is one of our favorite modern Trek characters,
Oh
yes?
yes. Oh yes.
How great was it to go back into, and you mentioned it, it's been 5 years since we saw this. Crazy. How do you feel coming back into a Saru-centric episode?
Anytime they get through is great. Um, Doug Jones is a national treasure. And anytime they get him on screen is a joy because Saru is just so lovable, really,
Mhm.
what he is.
Yep.
Yep.
I enjoy him too, and I also love that as you watch it later, through seasons 3, 4, and 5, we see more of action Saru.
Hmm.
So I like what I call this is the birth of action Saru.
Hmm.
And I love it so much. But let's get into a quick recap of what happens in this episode. We'll talk about it.
Hmm.
So of course, this is the season with the Red Angel and the signals. Another signal appears above Kaminar, the homeworld to Commander Saru, not Captain yet, but
Hmm.
Commander Saru. The Kelpians are being preyed upon by predators known as the Ba'ul. The Ba'ul are technologically advanced, but the Kelpians are aware of technology. Um, so General Order 1, the Prime Directive, doesn't exactly apply here, but Federation basically says, tread lightly. Okay, cool. So they beamed Saru and Burnham beamed down to Kaminar, where we see kind of this happy, simple fishing village. Nobody's there, but it's calm, it's quiet. And they see this obelisk in the middle of town that Saru says is kind of an eye to watch everything.
Hmm.
And he finds the priest of the town, who it turns out is Saru's sister. Um,
Rena.
yeah, so they meet together and they discuss, do humans drink tea, Brennan?
Hmm.
I love that.
Well, I
Uh,
don't, but okay.
no, all humans drink tea. Anyway, what we find out is that Saru left and everyone thought he was dead.
Hmm.
And she's very unhappy with this. She told him basically, I never really wanted you to come back because I wanted you to come back. It was easier that way.
And who
Um,
did he run into? Philippa Georgiou.
yes, we found out that it was Philippa, then Lieutenant
The
Philippa Georgiou.
actual Philippa, not the evil Empress Philippa.
She's not evil, she's misunderstood.
Oh, okay. Well, if you say so.
We'll find out more in section 31 next year when we get to review that.
Hmm.
Anyway, but the Ba'ul are unhappy that Saru is there and is now kind of letting them know what's happening because they're watching and listening. So they sent out kind of a signal. They're ready to attack Discovery up above. They beam back, and these sentry ships come around and say basically, hey, we need to preserve the great balance. Give us Saru. He knows too much.
Great balance, which is code for
Right.
genocide, basically.
So yeah, the great balance essentially is that when a Kelpian reaches Vaharai, they are culled. They are killed as a result. And the Kelpians on the planet accept this. And in the previous episode, when he was going through this, he thought the same thing was going to happen to him too. because that was just the nature of what they are. But Saru goes back down to give himself up. He and his sister are captured by the Ba'ul. Meanwhile, Tilly and Aram discover that over this through the sphere data over the centuries, there was a time when the Ba'ul were actually nearly hunted to extinction by dun 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 evolved Kelpians.
Yeah.
It was a time when the Kelpians did go past the Baha'i. But the Baul resisted and fought back to protect themselves and killed off all of the evolved Kelpians, leaving only the simple backwater outside, and then using that technology that they have create a sense of fear. And so that's what's happened over the centuries. Um, so basically what happens is Pike uses the Baul technology to trigger well, it's not really Pike actually. It's Saru who does it. But it's a combination of the two. They bounce the signal, but anyway, they get this signal that is sent out all over Kaminar to where all Kelpians instantly will go through Vaharai, thus showing them that we will live, we will survive. And this really makes the Baul angry. They go to kill Saru and his sister, but this is where we get Action Saru.
Hmm.
Saru breaks free of his restraints. He has extreme strength, uses the spikes, and then frees his sister. Um, so Pike uses this as kind of a bargaining chip and says, look, they now know who they are. We can work towards a peaceful solution. Let the Kelpians be free. You don't have to do this. There could be a new type of great balance between you, a peaceful, diplomatic one. Um, but the Baul decide this is not the way it's going to be, and they begin to launch an energy weapon to all of the obelisks that are in all the villages all over the planet, and are going to blow them up so they can destroy the entire Kelpian population.
Hmm.
And just as it's a Discovery's trying to load up the torpedoes and phasers, and it's going to try their best to blow as many up as they can. But just as that happens, outside of the Baul complex, a red being appears and
Hmm.
releases an EMP that stops all of that. Now, before, no one, including Spock went a little mad, if you remember, seeing the Red Angel.
Hmm.
But Kelpians have an enhanced vision, an enhanced way to view things. And so he sees definitively that the Red Angel is not some mystic thing. It is a humanoid in a mechanized suit.
Ah, yes. Hmm.
Mm,
Oh, we
interesting.
know where that goes. Hmm.
Yes, we do. We have reviewed that. So they of course get back up to the ship, and uh, um, him and Saru and his sister resolve with each other, and kind of we move on to the next episode after that. So in this one, I mean, there's a lot we could talk about, but I really want to focus on Saru.
Hmm.
Saru is the focus of this. Um, we're so used to seeing very calm, collected, diplomatic Saru.
Hmm.
We see action Saru sometimes, but this is the first time we see him kind of out of sorts, especially that initial moment on the bridge
Yeah, yeah.
when he's almost demanding to go down to the planet.
He's almost being insubordinate to Captain Blake.
Yeah, very illogical,
Which
very
is like
irrational.
Saru doesn't normally act like that.
No, this is not the Saru we saw before this was always cowardly, always cautious, always using his threat ganglia to kind of gauge what's happened. Now that he doesn't have that and his people may be at risk, he kind of loses it a little bit. To the point at one point he gets kicked off the bridge.
And
So
he
what
violates orders.
he does, what do we feel about this version of Saru that we're seeing?
I think that even though Saru's an alien, Star Trek is about humans. And sometimes even the most logical and most cautious of us, if something we love is on the line, well, how far are we willing to go to
Hmm.
protect it?
True.
We make some pretty insane decisions when people we love are threatened.
Hmm.
And Saru, now that he is gone through the Harai, now we see why the Baul were afraid of the Keltians.
Hmm.
This was the side of the Keltians they didn't want to get out. And now we see why.
Hmm. He's dangerous.
Yeah.
Without tempering that, he is absolutely dangerous. But I really love that this gives us a sneak peek as to what's to come for him when he's
Hmm.
not, when, you don't mess with him. It reminds me of us discovering how dangerous that Sulu could be at the
Oh,
con.
oh yes.
He's that kind of guy. Sulu is very diplomatic, very kind. And Saru is a lot of the ways a lot like Sulu, but get him mad, get him in the moment. He'll take care of you. You don't mess with him.
Yeah. And
Think it.
you're right. I mean, this definitely, we're going to see a lot of this later in there. A lot of Saru really stepping up and defending the people he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we meet him, he's kind of cowardly,
Mm-hmm. I would say cautious. I use the word cowardly,
cautious.
but I would say
Maybe cowardly is
cautious.
not the right word.
Yeah, no, and he is brave. He is a Starfleet officer, and but when that ganglia comes out, that's what happens. Um,
And this episode is also a great setup for a lot of things that are to come.
mm-hmm.
Because not only is it about Saru, but now we learn that the Red Angel is a person.
Mm-hmm.
We also learn this is really when they get the steer data. They're trying to figure out what it is, and that's going to be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it will eventually evolve into Zora, is that correct? In a manner of speaking.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, that hasn't quite happened yet, but yeah.
Um, this also gives us kind of the hint of when our characters jump into the future, they're going to meet that Red Angel. And also, this is more about this is during a transition point for Burnham, because when we first meet Burnham, she's a little, in my mind, annoying because she's so Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.
As we get into this part of the show, it's when we really see the real Burnham and the Burnham that we're going to get for the rest of the show.
Yep.
And also, we get some bits with Hugh Calder
I was just about
that
to
are going to
mention that.
lead to some good stuff down the road.
He's kind of the B, a little, not even a B plot. They don't mention it much.
Hmm.
But to give a little background for this, remember Colbert died in the first season at the hands of Tyler slash Spock.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
died at his hand. When they went into the mycelial network, the quirkiness of the network reconstituted Colbert trapped in the network.
yeah. And
And
I'm glad
Stam
they did because,
And Stamets was able to save him. But this leaves an interesting question because this is not our Colbert. This
mm-mm.
is a different Colbert that just so happens to have all the same memories. And yet he is a peak form of physical everything. In fact, his scars are gone. And you could see in his eyes, he doesn't say much. Stamets is just so happy to have him back, have his partner there and everything. And yet Colbert's trying to figure out who he is and what he is.
And you could argue that Adira Tull is the reason that he figures out who he is.
I think that's part of it. I also think becoming becoming kind of the ship's counselor did help.
Yeah, but it definitely does help Culber and Stannett's relationship
Hmm.
when Adira comes along.
Right. It starts to mend things because the whole rest of this season, Culper is they separate.
Very
They're
distant.
not out of
Yeah.
hatred. It's just, I can't be in a
It's a
relationship if
lot
I,
of
yeah.
it's a
It,
lot emotionally to take in.
hmm Absolutely.
And you could
Uh,
argue that their quote unquote adoption of Adira is
mhm,
really what saves them.
yeah. Um, so yeah, he's to the point that he can resume his duties in a normal life, but what's a normal life for him?
Hmm.
And we'll see more of that as he goes through this growth and
So this is a
development.
big hinge point for the future of Discovery.
Hmm. You have the sphere data.
Hmm.
You have, continuing the mystery of the Red Angel. The only other thing that becomes the tipping point is eventually what happens to control in Section 31.
Hmm. Hmm.
I also love too, there's a nice soft moment at the end where Saru's report is given to Tyler.
Hmm.
Tyler is working for Section 31 and throughout this season has been at odds with Pike.
Hmm.
Pike is in command of Discovery, while Section 31, in Tyler's mind, supersedes that.
Hmm.
He should have unfettered access, and they've been going back and forth. And Pike gives him that report as like a gesture of goodwill. We're in this together. Here's the information we've received. So I do like that development as well. That starts to go, and I'm sad that after this season we don't see more of Tyler because there was a really great character developing and building there, and hopefully, we'll maybe get to see some more of him in Section 31. That would be nice if
Hmm.
he gets to come back
Or
a
by
little bit
some
more.
weird thing, the Academy show.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
And I do think before the end of the show, just to tease everybody, we're going to talk a little bit. There was some news out of San Diego Comic-Con for
Hmm.
Star Trek, so we'll talk about that momentarily. But um, final thoughts on this episode, Brennan.
This is a really good episode, I thought. It really was.
Hmm.
I get a little bit lost going back to some of the earlier episodes of Discovery
Hmm.
because the story was kind of convoluted.
Right.
This episode is pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
And so I'd say I watch it.
I enjoy it too. It's a
Yeah.
great development for Saru. And just that for itself is really enjoyable to see. And Doug Jones, yes, Doug Jones all the way for everything.
He is a god.
Yes, he is. All right. So before we get to um um before we get to choosing next week's episode, which is going to be A Strange New Worlds, continuing
Hmm.
on the Pike bandwagon, let's talk about Comic-Con. Comic-Con happened, San Diego Comic-Con.
Hmm.
And we got some Star Trek things which are really cool. First things first, we got a teaser trailer for Section 31, which just looks like a commercial for a rave.
I agree.
But who knows? And Giorgio, Empress Giorgio, is the kind of person that would be the partier. Would be I see it in her. She's unconventional. I like it. I love when you open up the trailer, it says this preview contains misfit content as determined by Starfleet. I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
kinda.
Yeah.
Colorful metaphors. So there will probably be swearing in this one. Disintegrations, Delton fraternizing. That's going to be
Mm.
interesting. And references to unauthorized time jumps. Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. So that'll be really good. The biggest news to come out of it um, was that a new show is being developed by Justin Simeon and Tawny Newsome. Tawny Newsome, of
Ooh.
course, being in Lower Decks. She's also writing for Starfleet Academy as well.
Yeah, remind me, Tony Newsom is.
Mariner.
Oh, that's right.
She's
Yes, yes,
married.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But here's the kicker. The show is going to be an action comedy.
Okay.
Now, I was worried about Lower Decks when they announced what it was going to be. I'll admit it, and I love Lower Decks.
Hmm.
So if anybody could do it understanding it and is a true Trek fan, it's
Hmm.
Tawny Newsome. I think she's going to do perfectly fine in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got some great casting news for Starfleet Academy.
Yes.
So we will have returning characters regularly,
Yes.
regulars from Star Trek Discovery and other Trek. So Tig Notaro will be
Love
Jet
her.
Reno, will be returning
We
as Reno.
love Reno. We are
We love
Reno
Reno.
stands around here.
Oded Fair, the Dadmiral Vance. He
Yes,
is
like
returning.
him. Like him.
My joy to see on screen in anything, Mary Wiseman,
Yeah.
Lieutenant Tilly.
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
so happy. And the shocker, this I love. Robert Picardo will be returning as the EMH. That means the EMH is in the 30th
Yes.
century. I cannot wait to see what the EMH has
Well,
learned
let me
in
just
that
say
process.
that I haven't finished Prodigy yet. I'm on the finale.
Yeah.
Having Robert Picardo return as the Doctor,
Mhm.
I didn't know it was going to happen, filled me with such joy. And I get to meet him in a few weeks
Nice.
at GalaxyCon, and I'm going to tell him how much I appreciated him in Prodigy.
This joins the previous confirmations that Holly Hunter will be our
Mm-hmm.
primary captain.
Yep.
The villain will be played by Paul Giamatti.
Hopefully better than he did as Rhino, but whatever.
And I'll be honest, I can't tell you, but they also announced more of the cast, the regular cast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming the cadets that were announced. So
Yeah.
no one that I recognized.
Yeah.
Let's see, Carice Brooks, Bella Shepherd, George Hawkins, Kareem Diane, and Zoe Steiner. We don't know anything else about them, but they are confirmed in our show. We also got a clip of a scene from season 3, which we won't get till 2025, but season 3 of Strange New Worlds.
And no, I didn't watch it, so don't spoil what's in the clip.
Oh, I want to. Oh, all right. Let's just say shenanigans.
Yeah,
Shenanigans.
shenanigans, and I like
Shenanigans.
shenanigans.
Yes. The final date for season 5 of Lower Decks, October 24th, with a brand new trailer, and it will be a 2-episode premiere on the 24th.
And we'll have to drink rum and ale to drown our sorrows.
Yes, no more. And the final announcement, which actually happened earlier that day, was something they call Friendship Day. I was intrigued because Alex Kurtzman
Mm-hmm.
and the Russell T Davies did a panel together. Now, those of you who don't know, Russell T Davies is the showrunner for Doctor Who in its current
Mm-hmm.
run. So
Oh, yes, I've heard about this. Yes.
Doctor Who and Star Trek, now not in television that we know of yet. Star Trek and Doctor Who are crossing over in the video game world.
Mm-hmm.
They announced that. And maybe this is an opening for something else. I would not be surprised if in the future, in Doctor Who, we actually might get a visit to the Enterprise. They've talked about,
Oh.
so they've not specifically said this, but there is evidence to suggest this was an idea they've been building. In the last season, and the specials that were right before that, I think it was Donna, the Donna talked about, oh, we need a matter transporter like in Star Trek. He's like, oh, Kirk and Spock, you love them. We need to visit them sometime, which
Mm-hmm.
establishes that Doctor Who is in the same universe as Star Trek. That one little line establishes firmly that Star Trek is in the same timeline. So the idea being, could we see on Doctor Who? I don't think we'll get it in Star Trek, but by the way, Strange New Worlds, if there is anyone who could do a crossover with Doctor Who, it's Strange New Worlds.
Yeah. Now I wonder, are we going to get a crossover of Strange New Worlds on lower decks, just vice versa, where members of the Strange New Worlds crew are animated?
It's possible. It's possible. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they could do anything. They really could. They've talked about wanting to do another crossover. I think it's also vaguely possible that Doctor Who could show up in animated form on Lower Decks this season. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying, again, if there's any places that are likely to do it, it's these two shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's all the Star Trek news I think I have. And of course, if you're a fan, there is a great duo of games that I do actually play that focus on called an idle RPG. I don't know if you play those kinds of things. But it's all about collecting resources and leveling up. It is what it is. They have one for Doctor Who, but they also have one for Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way they did this was that there is an event going on this month where the two are crossing over. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Uh, also, those
It's a
little,
good time to be a Star Trek fan right
it
now.
really is. I'm very excited. Next year is going to be a great year. We may only have one new show.
I'm just sad that we have to wait a year for more Strange New Worlds.
I don't think it's going to be that long. I sense the beginning quarter
And
of.
not just because I may have a crush on a few of the cast members.
Oh, all right. So that was San Diego Comic-Con news from Star Trek. Not a lot of major things. No big, Star Trek Legacy. We're all hoping it
No.
happens. Keep an eye out for that because they still keep
Captain
whispering.
Seven. Captain Seven.
Oh, I want that. But let's move on to next week's episode. In the randomizer, we're going back to Strange New Worlds. Here,
Well,
so
definitely forward because season two
forward,
of Discovery is, yeah,
same time, same channel.
it gets
All right,
complicated.
randomizer, turn. Tell us the episode we should watch. All right, season two. I think it listens to us. Jonathan Frakes directed episode 7, These Old Scientists.
Oh,
That is the
yes,
crossover episode.
yes,
That's gonna
yes.
be
I
great.
love that episode.
Yeah, that was one of the better episodes I've seen in a long
Oh
time.
my word, it was so good. Okay.
Yes. So that is what's coming
I
there.
mean, you think about it, we've only gotten 2 seasons so far of Strange New Worlds, and it's already given us some of the best Star Trek episodes.
Hmm. Yeah, it's fabulous. Right now, it's hinging, and I'm surprised I'm going to say this. Only 2 seasons in, Strange New Worlds is the best Star Trek series I've ever seen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's consistent. We've not seen a bad episode yet.
I can't think of one.
No, and I'm loving this. They're taking risks and it's working. We reviewed the musical episode that could have went really bad. It went really great.
It went incredible. It
And
definitely ranks up there among the best.
oh yeah, and then we've never had a true big crossover. This was amazing when they
Hmm.
talked about this last year, I think, or the year before, and they had announced it. So, yeah, actually, this episode it's a year old too. Already a
Am
year
I
since
allowed to
the
say
show.
that Tony Newsom is really cute?
Well, we're gonna see a lot more of her. She
Yeah.
will continue being part of the Star Trek world, and I love it. So, all right, Brennan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on X at Brennan Mystical, Threads and Instagram at Brennan Blue. You can find me on YouTube at Page Turners They Were Not, where you will get Random Trek every Monday. And follow us there.
Mhm.
Oh, and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Absolutely. You'll find me on Twitch and Twitter at C Ingold 1984. And your captain has been asked to join a panel tomorrow discussing fandom. Oh,
Mm,
actually, today, with our good friend Ryan Permison, who came in for our movie last
yes,
week.
we
He
like him.
invited me on his podcast to talk about fandom. And so I'm going to talk about Star Trek fandom.
Hmm.
And so check out the And I Quote channel to see that review. And I think definitely we will, on the socials, we'll plug that once it comes out.
Yep.
All right. But as always, we end every episode. Kapla! And live long and prosper.
Peace among life.